Uh, we come to this whole process with a bit of the mindset set in our brains, or an openness to it, because that's what brought us to the table, right? To the whole topic of differentiation. I don't know. When I think of where I'm at, I still think I have a ways to go, but I think that I am looking at everything through a lens of how do I make sure that I'm teaching this in a way that gives access to kids.
I think we talked about this last time. Really, teaching isn't, the question of teaching begins when you say, what do I do when they don't get it, right? That's where differentiated instruction comes from. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you can think ahead. Okay, I know my kids now, and I know that what I'm doing, this thing I've got planned isn't going to work for some of them. So rather than just going through it anyways and having some of them lost and feeling bad about themselves and then turning around to poke the person behind them, plan ahead and say, well, what can I do for these kids, for this group of people who I know, hate textbook reading and are much better at learning something by doing it, by doing something, some action.
It's exactly that. You look at how you've done things before, and then now I'm looking at everything going, well, I've got this group of students and this group of students, and I'm now looking at going, well, it's not the same for everyone, and I have to find different ways to do it, and the same isn't always the same for everybody, and they're not going to learn the same way, and it's always challenging me, so I find myself being over-prepared and planning. Well, I can't even say over-prepared, but I'm thinking ahead to every kind of situation that could come up and finding new ways to present something that's out of my normal comfort zone. But, this has now kind of pushed me out of that comfort zone going, okay, you got to think differently.
Rather than saying to your kids, this is my program and you have to fit into my program because this is how I teach and what I'm doing. It's really thinking about, well, how can I, this is my program, how can I change it if and when I need to fit what my kids need.
And one of my goals was, and I carried it on ever since, I was always planned to be in the classroom when my students first arrived, but just kind of in the classroom. And since we did that last action research, from that day on, I'd be in the classroom as soon as the students arrived and greet every single one of them with, good morning and their first name and chit-chatted. And it was actually, and I thought, if it's making a difference, it is. I don't know it, but whatever. And it was actually just a couple of weeks ago that some of the students actually said, are you going to do this all the time now? And, almost like, why are you doing this? But I find that it's not, the slime's in the classroom, that's a bolt. It's now they're hanging out in the classroom before the bell rings and actually chit-chatting and connecting with me. So a small thing of just greeting them in the morning.
Okay, I'll try to get them out, but they want to come in the mornings. They want to say, and it's not just that they don't want to be outside, because there are nice days too. Mm-hmm. They still come in, they'll hang out, and they say, well, do you know what happened here? You know what my brother did to me? And so they do. They look forward to that. And it's kind of neat. I have a few that stay after class now too, even when their bus is waiting for them. They just have one more story they have to tell us.
All the time about that. I realize that I know each of them are individuals, and it does make me see it as this person doesn't have the skills to function in life properly with other human beings, so that is a big part of why they haven't been learning up to this point, and that's a big reason why they aren't motivated to learn.
When I think about the pre-assessment too, I do pre-assessments in English, math, and social, and I always have to go back. I've never had anything where I can jump forward because what I need to teach them, they're not very young, so I've always had to go back even further, especially in math, and just work from that point. It's never been, okay, are you ready to start the grade 8? We've got to do all this other stuff first. And even the writing process, I did some pre-assessment before we even got to the AFL, and I had to go back even further. And I had done this with them once already this year. We had worked through it, and they still could not recall it, so I had to go back again and start from scratch again. Yes, pre-assessments, they help if they just tell me how much work is after.